I step out of the black car, adjusting my suit as I look up at the grand entrance of Le Salle Étoile. The name alone carries weight. A Michelin five-star restaurant, a place where the world's greatest chefs push the limits of fine dining. I've eaten in some of the best restaurants on the planet, but tonight, this was meant to be special. A quiet evening, just me and the food. No cameras, no chaos, just a proper meal. The second I step onto the marble stairs leading to the entrance, I can feel eyes on me. A couple near the door whispering. A group of young chefs standing by the side of the street, eyes wide as they nudge each other. I know the look. I've seen it 1,000 times. Some people are excited, some are nervous, and a few are waiting for a show. I nod to the doorman as he pulls open the heavy glass door, and the warm glow of the restaurant spills out onto the street. The scent hits me first. Truffle, something slow-cooked, a whisper of citrus. It's the kind of smell that tells you the food inside isn't just good, it's art. Inside, the dining room hums with quiet elegance. Crystal chandeliers hang above white tablecloths, each one meticulously set. A violinist plays softly in the background. The kind of place where a single meal could cost as much as a small car. My kind of place. I approach the host's stand, where a man in a sharp black suit stands with his hands folded. He sees me, but his face doesn't light up with the usual polite smile. No nod of recognition. No warmth. Strange. Reservation for Ramsay, I say, already reaching into my jacket pocket for my phone in case I need to pull up the confirmation. The maître d', a tall Frenchman with slick-back silver hair, doesn't move. Doesn't even glance at the list in front of him. Monsieur Ramsay, he says slowly, his accent thick. We regret to inform you, but we cannot serve you tonight. I freeze. For a second, I think I misheard him. Sorry, what was that? His expression doesn't change. Your reservation has been cancelled. A flicker of heat rises in my chest. A misunderstanding, surely. Maybe they double-booked. Maybe some idiot made a mistake in the system. Look, I don't know what's going on here, but I booked this table weeks ago. Just check again. Yeah. Still, he doesn't look at the list. Doesn't even touch it. Just meets my eyes, calm as ever. It is not a mistake, monsieur. You will not be dining here tonight. A hush spreads through the room. The whispering starts. A few diners at nearby tables stop mid-bite, forks hovering in the air. A waiter, balancing a tray of expensive wine glasses, nearly stumbles as he passes. My jaw tightens. What the hell are you on about? The maître d' still doesn't move. It is the chef's decision. I blink. The chef's decision. My voice comes out sharp, each word carrying the weight of my confusion and my growing irritation. Francois, that's what his name tag says, finally lifts his chin. Yes, Monsieur Ramsay. Something about the way he says it makes my stomach twist. This isn't a mistake. This isn't some overbooked nonsense or system error. This is deliberate. I glance past him, towards the kitchen doors. Behind those doors, the heart of the restaurant beats. That's where the real power is. The chefs, the brigade, the mastermind behind tonight's service. And somewhere in there, the one who decided that I, Gordon Ramsay, wasn't welcome in their restaurant. A muscle in my jaw twitches. My mind races through every possibility. Who's the head chef, hey? Have I had a run-in with them before? A competition? A bad review? My name carries weight in this industry. I've built empires, trained some of the greatest chefs in the world. And now, one of them is shutting me out. I take a slow breath. Right. Let me speak to the chef. Francois doesn't flinch. I'm afraid that will not be possible. I let out a short laugh, but there's no humor in it. Not possible. You're joking. I assure you, I am not. My patience snaps. Listen to me, you pompous. I catch myself. Exhale. Lower my voice, but keep the edge. I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but I am not leaving until I get a damn explanation. Silence. And then, footsteps. A figure emerges from the back, moving slowly, deliberately. The murmur in the restaurant grows. Some guests lean forward. A waiter steps aside hurriedly. The man who steps into the light isn't just any chef. He's the chef. Laurent. Tall, dark-haired, his sharp eyes locked onto mine like a blade pressed against my throat. His white chef's coat is spotless, his sleeves rolled up just enough to reveal the bone scars on his forearms. Scars every real chef carries like a badge of honor. His voice, when he finally speaks, is ice. Gordon. One word. A single word. But it carries weight. Because I know that voice. I know that face. And I know, deep in my gut, this isn't just a Laurent stands there, arms crossed, staring at me like I'm some rookie chef who just ruined the beef Wellington on his first night. The room is dead silent. No one dares to speak. Even the waiters, usually moving like clockwork, have frozen in place. My hands tighten into fists at my sides, but I keep my voice even. Laurent, I say, my tone measured. Mind telling me what the hell is going on? He doesn't answer right away. He just stands there, his gaze locked onto mine, as if he's waiting for something. A flicker of something in his eyes. Amusement. No, something colder. Gordon, he says again, this time slower. You shouldn't be here. A laugh escapes me, sharp and humorless. That right? And why's that? I book a table, I expect a table. I'll have you lot started turning away paying customers for fun. Still, he doesn't blink. It's not about the reservation. The murmurs in the room grow. Diners pretending not to eavesdrop. Waiters shifting nervously. I glance back at Francois, the maître d', but he keeps his eyes low, suddenly very interested in the host's stand in front of him. Something is very, very wrong here. Right, I say, folding my arms. Then why don't you tell me what it is about? Because this, Laurent, is a bloody joke. He finally moves, taking a slow step forward. You still don't get it, do you? You think you can walk into any kitchen, any dining room, and be welcomed like a king? You think everyone in this industry still looks at you the way they did 10 years ago? I narrow my eyes. What the hell are you talking about? Laurent lets out a breath. This place has standards. Standards you no longer meet. The words land like a slap. A sharp sting that spreads through my chest before turning into something hotter. I take a step closer. You're joking. Am I? His voice stays calm, but there's something under it. Something is holding back. You built an empire, Gordon. No one is denying that. But empires crumble. A few gasps from nearby tables. Someone shifts their chair. Even Francois looks like he wants to disappear into the floor. Laurent doesn't care. His gaze is steady, unwavering. I let out a slow breath through my nose, steadying myself. You seriously telling me you don't respect what I've done for this industry? You don't think I belong here? Laurent tilts his head. Oh, I respect what you did. Past tense. But respect isn't permanent. You should know that better than anyone. The weight of his words sits heavy between us. Something is off. This isn't just about a reservation. This isn't just about me. This is something deeper, older. My mind races. I know Laurent. I've seen him before, years ago. But from where? A competition? A restaurant I critiqued? A chef I fired? The industry is small, but not that small. There has to be a reason behind this. A reason why he's looking at me like I'm nothing more than a washed-up relic. I take another step forward, lowering my voice. Say what you really want to say. Laurent's jaw clenches, just slightly. Then, finally, he says it. You don't belong in my restaurant. The silence is deafening. My pulse pounds in my ears. Every eye in the room is on me, waiting to see what I'll do next. A few phones are out now, recording, just in case this turns into something they can sell to the tabloids. I shake my head, letting out a sharp breath. You're out of your mind. You think this little stunt makes you look powerful? It makes you look like a bloody coward. Laurent doesn't flinch. Call it whatever you like. The result is the same. You're not eating here. I glance around, at the staff, the diners, the ones who won't meet my eyes and the ones who can't stop staring. A part of me wants to storm into that kitchen and remind everyone in there exactly who I am. Another part wants to laugh at the absurdity of it all. But underneath it, buried deep in my gut, is something I haven't felt in a long time. Doubt. Not in myself. Never in myself. But in what's really happening here. There's more to this. There has to be. And I'll be damned if I leave without finding out what it is. I take a slow step back. All right, Laurent. You don't want me here? Fine. But trust me when I say this. Whatever game you're playing, you just made the biggest mistake of your bloody life. Laurent finally breaks eye contact, just for a split second. But it's enough. A crack in the armor. I turn on my heel and walk out, past the stunned guests, past the silent waiters, past the doorman who still has his hand on the door like he's afraid to let me go. The second I step outside, the night air hits me, but it doesn't cool the fire burning in my chest. My car is still waiting. I could leave. I should leave. But I don't. Instead, I step to the side of the building, away from the street, away from the cameras. And I wait. Because I know one thing for certain. Laurent isn't just trying to humiliate me. This is personal. And whatever secret he's hiding, whatever reason he has for keeping me out, I'll find it. And when I do, he'll regret ever trying to shut me out. I stand outside Le Salle Etoile, the cold air biting at my skin, but I barely feel it. My mind is spinning. Laurent's words keep playing in my head, over and over. This wasn't just some power play. This wasn't about a reservation. It was personal, and I need to know why. I glance at my watch. 10 minutes. 15. The dining room inside is still buzzing, but I know Laurent won't be able to keep up the act forever. Eventually, he has to step outside. He has to breathe. And when he does, I'll be waiting. Then, like clockwork, the side door to the restaurant swings open. A lone figure steps out, pulling a cigarette from his pocket. It's not Laurent. It's a younger chef, maybe mid-20s, his crisp white jacket slightly wrinkled, dark hair falling over his forehead. He looks exhausted. Perfect. I step out of the shadows. Busy night. The chef nearly jumps out of his skin, fumbling with the lighter in his hand. His eyes go wide when he realizes who's speaking to him. Chef Ramsay. He swallows hard, glancing toward the door. I can't talk to you. That right. I lean against the wall, crossing my arms. Funny, because I think you might know exactly what I need to hear. He hesitates. His fingers twitch around the cigarette. Look, I respect you. I do. But if Laurent finds out, I cut him off. I don't give a damn about Laurent. I want to know why he's got it out for me. What's his problem? The chef exhales slowly, looking away. For a second, I think he's going to bolt back inside. But then, almost too quietly, he says, he was your apprentice. Everything stops. I blink, trying to process the words. What? The chef nods, keeping his voice low. Years ago, before he went to Paris, before he became who he is now, he worked under you, said you were the reason he became a chef. A sharp chill runs through me, but not from the cold. I rack my brain, trying to place him. Laurent, my apprentice. I've trained hundreds, maybe thousands of chefs over the years. Some have gone on to become legends. Others, I swallow hard. Others have been left behind. Why the hell wouldn't I remember him? My voice is quieter now, more to myself than to him. The chef shifts uncomfortably. I don't know what happened between you two, but whatever it was, he never forgot, and he never forgave. A weight settles in my chest. If Laurent was under me, then that means I either pushed him too hard, or I didn't push him enough. Before I can ask anything else, the side door swings open again. A waitress steps out, scanning the alley. The young chef stiffens instantly. I have to go. Wait. I'm sorry. He flicks his cigarette away, hurrying inside. The door slams shut behind him, leaving me alone in the cold. I run a hand through my hair. Laurent was one of mine, and I didn't even remember him. But he sure as hell remembers me. I take one last look at the glowing restaurant windows before turning on my heel and walking toward my car. One thing is certain, this isn't over. Not by a long shot. I drive through the dimly lit streets of Paris, my grip tightening on the steering wheel. The weight of what I just learned sits heavy in my chest. Laurent was my apprentice. Someone who worked under me, learned from me, and now, all these years later, wants nothing to do with me. Worse, he wants to shut me out. But why? The problem is, I still don't remember him. I should. I remember almost every chef who has passed through my kitchens, whether they were brilliant or useless. But Laurent is a blank space in my mind. I pull up outside my hotel, kill the engine, but don't move. Instead, I stare out the windshield, lost in thought. My mind reaches back, years ago, to the bustling kitchens, the roaring flames, the relentless pace of service. Faces flash through my memory, one after another. Some full of promise, others crumbling under the pressure. But none of them are Laurent. I exhale sharply. There's only one way to get to the bottom of this. If my own memory won't give me the answer, maybe someone else will. I reach for my phone and scroll through my contacts until I find the name I need. Marco, one of my oldest colleagues. A man who has seen it all and remembers even more. If anyone can help me piece this together, it's him. I hit call. The phone rings twice before a groggy voice answers. Bloody hell. Gordon, do you know what time it is? No time for that. I snap. I need you to tell me about a chef named Laurent. Worked under me years ago. French. Runs Le Salle Etoile now. There's silence on the other end. Then a low sigh. Oh, that Laurent. The way he says it makes my stomach twist. So you remember him? Of course, I do. Question is, why don't you? I rub a hand over my face. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Marco exhales. He was one of your best. One of your hardest workers. He had talent, real talent. But he never spoke much. Always kept his head down. Never caused trouble. Then why the hell is he treating me like his worst enemy? There's another pause. Then Marco says, because of what you did. A chill runs down my spine. What did I do? You don't remember, do you? Marco sounds almost sad. You cut him, right before he was supposed to move up. Right when he was at his peak. You let him go, and you didn't even give him a reason. My heart pounds. That can't be right. I don't cut chefs without cause. If I sent him away, there had to be a reason. No, I say firmly. I wouldn't do that. Not without an explanation. You did, Gordon, and you never looked back. A flood of memories crashes over me. A young chef, dark hair, focused eyes, working tirelessly in my kitchen. Laurent. I see him now, clear as day. I see the moment I called him into my office. The way he stood there, waiting, expecting good news. And I see myself, cold, detached, telling him he was done. No explanation, just a decision. The realization hits me like a punch to the gut. I need to fix this, I murmur. Marco sighs again. That's up to you, mate. But some wounds don't heal easy, especially when they've been left open this long. I hang up without another word and stare out into the night. Laurent had every right to hate me. I had taken everything from him. And now, he was making sure I felt it too. But I wasn't about to walk away. Not this time. I had to face him. I had to make this right, even if it was already too late. Morning light spills through the hotel window, but I haven't slept. My mind keeps replaying the past, the moment I cut Laurent loose without a word. The moment I shattered everything he had worked for. And now, after all these years, I finally understand why he refused to let me through those doors. He wasn't just rejecting me. He was making me feel exactly what he felt that day. Cast aside, unworthy, forgotten. I sit on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, scrolling through my contacts. There's only one way forward. I need to face him, not as some high-profile chef demanding a table, but as a man who made a mistake. And for that, I need leverage. I need something that will force him to listen. I make a call. It rings once before an assistant answers. Yes, Chef Ramsay. Get me a reservation at Le Salle Etoile. Tonight. A pause. I'm sorry, chef, but weren't you? I know what happened. I cut in. Just get it done. Call whoever you have to. There's hesitation on the other end, but then I'll see what I can do. I hang up. If Laurent won't hear me out as a guest, then I'll have to make him listen another way. Hours pass in a blur. I keep thinking about how I'll approach him, what I'll say. I go over a dozen scenarios in my head, each one ending in disaster. But I don't care. I have to try. Evening comes, and I dress sharp. Not to impress, but to show I'm serious. As I step out onto the Paris streets, my phone buzzes. The assistant's voice is careful. You have a reservation. I exhale, relieved. How? You don't want to know. Just be there at 8. I make my way back to the restaurant. This time, when I arrive, the Maître d' doesn't stop me. The staff still watches me with wary eyes, but no one dares to tear me away. They lead me through the lavish dining room, past white linen tables, past plates of food so perfect they could be art. Then, I'm taken through a private hallway, into a sleek, dimly lit office. And there, standing behind a desk, is Laurent. He looks up as I enter. His face is unreadable. You found a way in. You gave me no choice. Laurent folds his arms, unimpressed. If you've come for an apology, you won't get one. I shake my head. I'm not here for that. I'm here to make you an offer. He leans back slightly, skeptical. An offer? After all these years? You expect me to believe you suddenly care? I should have cared back then, and I should have remembered you. I didn't. That's my fault. But I'm here now, and I'm listening. Laurent watches me carefully, searching my face for any sign of a lie. Then, after a moment, he says, "Say what you came to say." I step closer. "Come work for me. 1 year. Any restaurant of your choosing. Full creative control. No strings attached." He blinks, caught off guard. "You think I want your pity?" "It's not pity. It's a chance. A chance to do whatever the hell you want. To prove you don't need my name, my approval, or my damn mistakes defining your career." Laurent doesn't speak right away. His jaw tightens, and for the first time, I see something in his eyes that isn't anger. It's hesitation. "Why?" he asks finally. "Why do you care now?" I exhale. "Because I know what it feels like to be denied something you've earned. And I know what it's like to carry that weight for years." Laurent studies me for a long time. Then, he shakes his head, almost amused. "You really think one offer erases the past?" "No," I admit. "But it's a start." The room is silent. Laurent looks away for a moment, his fingers tapping against the desk. Then, slowly, he says, "I'll think about it." It's not a yes, but it's not a no either. And for now, that's enough. I sit at a private table in Le Salle Étoile, the soft glow of candlelight flickering across the polished wood. The dining room hums with quiet conversation, the sound of silverware clinking against porcelain. But my focus is on one thing: Laurent. He stands at the edge of the room, watching me. He hasn't accepted my offer. Not yet. But he hasn't rejected it either. Instead, he insisted on this. A meal. A tasting. His way of deciding if I even deserve a conversation, let alone a second chance. A waiter appears, setting down the first dish. It's delicate, almost too perfect to touch. I pick up my fork, hesitating for just a moment before taking a bite. The second the food hits my tongue, my chest tightens. It's flawless. Every note, every texture, balanced to perfection. But it's more than just skill. It's familiar. The layering of flavors, the precise technique. This is my influence. My teachings. And yet, it's not mine at all. Laurent has taken what he learned from me and elevated it into something untouchable. I look up, meeting his eyes across the room. He knows exactly what I'm thinking. He turns away before I can say a word. Course after course arrives, each one more stunning than the last. I taste hints of my past menus, old techniques I once drilled into my chefs. But every plate tells a different story. His story. Years of struggle, ambition, and resentment woven into every bite. By the time dessert arrives, I set my fork down and push my plate away. I need a moment to breathe. Laurent approaches the table, his expression unreadable. "Well?" he asks. I exhale, shaking my head. "It's brilliant." "I know." I smirk despite myself. Still arrogant, I see. I learned from the best. For the first time tonight, something shifts between us. The tension doesn't disappear, but it changes. Less of a battle, more of an understanding. "So," Laurent says, crossing his arms, "you made me an offer. Let me make you one." I raise a brow. "Go on." "One night. One menu. You and me in the kitchen." He leans forward slightly. "If you really want to fix the past, prove you still have something to teach me." I stare at him, my pulse quickening. A challenge. A test. One that could either rebuild everything or tear it down for good. Yawn. The kitchen is alive. Heat radiates from the stoves, knives clatter against cutting boards, and a rhythmic sizzle of searing meat fills the air. I stand at the pass, sleeves rolled up, hands steady. Across from me, Laurent moves with the precision of a man who has spent years mastering his craft. There's no hesitation in his movements, no uncertainty. He belongs here. I take a breath, the weight of the past pressing down on me. This isn't just a menu. This isn't just a meal. This is years of anger, resentment, and unfinished business boiling down into a single night. Laurent slides a pan onto the burner, glancing up. You keeping up, old man? I scoff, shaking my head. Watch yourself, or I'll have you running the pass while I sit back with a glass of wine. He smirks but doesn't respond. We both know that's not going to happen. Not tonight. Dishes start flowing out. Each plate is a conversation, a battle of wills. I adjust a seasoning here. He refines a sauce there. It's a back and forth, a challenge. But there's no malice. Just two chefs, pushing each other, raising the bar. As the night wears on, something shifts. The tension doesn't disappear, but it becomes something else. Respect. Not spoken, not acknowledged, but understood. The way we work together, the way we anticipate each other's movements. It's as if all those lost years are being rebuilt, one course at a time. Then comes the final dish, the one that will define the night. Laurent plates his, a creation that is stunning in its elegance, its simplicity. I do the same. Two plates, side by side. The past and the present, staring back at us. He picks up a spoon, takes a bite of mine. I watch his face, searching for a reaction, but he gives nothing away. Then, he nods once. Just once. But it says everything. I pick up a fork and taste his dish. The second the flavors hit my tongue, I know. His surpassed me. I set the fork down, meeting his gaze. You did it. Laurent watches me carefully. Did what? Became better than me. For the first time since this all began, I see it. The resentment, the years of anger, they don't disappear, but they soften. Just a little. He exhales, shaking his head. It was never about that. I nod slowly. I know. The last plate leaves the pass. Service is over. The kitchen quiets. We stand there, side by side, neither of us speaking. Then Laurent reaches up, unties his apron, and tosses it onto the counter. One night, he says. That's what we agreed. I nod. One night. He turns to leave but pauses at the door. You still owe me an answer. I frown. An answer to what? He looks at me, expression unreadable. Why you cut me all those years ago? The air goes still. My chest tightens. Because the truth is, I don't know. Not really. And for the first time, I realize that might not be good enough. Laurent waits, but I have nothing to give him. So he nods once, as if that tells him everything he needs to know, and walks out. And just like that, he's gone. I had done it. I had humbled myself. I had offered the apology. I had eaten Laurent's food and admitted, in front of the whole damn room, that he was better than me. But as I turned to leave, I felt a strange kind of peace settle over me. It wasn't the relief of a battle won. It wasn't the weight of being right after all these years. It was something else, something deeper. I didn't know it yet, but the night wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The door swung open, and Francois, who had been watching me with a careful eye all night, hurried over. His usual stiff demeanor was gone, replaced by something close to desperation. Monsieur Ramsay, please, stay, he said, his voice shaking slightly. Let us serve you properly. We want to make this right. I stopped in my tracks, just a few steps from the exit. His words hung in the air for a moment, and I almost laughed at the absurdity of it. Stay? After everything that had happened tonight, after everything I had just gone through, did he really think I would stay? But there was something in the way Francois looked at me, something in his eyes that made me pause. He wasn't just asking as a maître d'. He was pleading as a man who had witnessed something bigger than food, something bigger than a single night of service. I turned back toward him, my hand resting on the doorframe, and shook my head. No, mate. Tonight isn't about me. Francois opened his mouth as if to protest, but before he could say anything, I looked toward Laurent. He was standing at the far end of the dining room, near the kitchen. He had stopped pacing, and for the first time tonight, he didn't look angry or broken. There was a kind of stillness about him, a sense of peace, almost. I could see that the years of bitterness, the years of rage, had finally started to fade. There would always be scars, but something had shifted. I could see it in the way he carried himself, the way his shoulders had relaxed just a little, the way his eyes softened. For the first time in a long time, Laurent looked free. I took a few more steps toward him, and as I did, something caught my eye, a small, nearly invisible flicker of a smile playing on his lips. It was subtle, but it was there. And for the first time tonight, I realized something. This wasn't just about me making up for past mistakes. It wasn't just about me admitting that he was the better chef. No, it was something more. Laurent had let go, not just of me, but of everything. The past, the resentment, the anger, it was all starting to melt away. And that was something I hadn't expected. You were right about one thing, Gordon, Laurent said, his voice carrying over the low hum of conversation in the restaurant. I stopped, halfway between him and the door, and turned back to face him. My mind was racing, trying to understand where he was going with this. What was he about to say? What's that? I asked, my voice low, almost reluctant to break the fragile silence between us. Laurent smiled, a small, almost wistful expression crossing his face. My risotto back then really did taste like Shoaster's tea. I blinked, and then I burst out laughing. It wasn't the kind of laughter that was forced or awkward. It was the kind of laugh that comes from deep inside, the kind of laugh that comes when you realize that all the anger, all the years of bitterness, were just, well, a waste. And as I stood there in the middle of the dining room, laughing with Laurent, of all people, it felt like everything that had happened before was finally, truly behind us. Francois, still standing by the door, looked at both of us in confusion, clearly not understanding what had just happened. But for once, I didn't care. I wasn't here for him. I wasn't here for anyone else. I was here for Laurent. He was still grinning, and as I walked back toward him, the smile on his face grew wider. You know, he said, his voice teasing, I've never really gotten the chance to thank you. For everything you did, I mean. I raised an eyebrow. Thank me. Yeah, he said. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be standing here tonight. You pushed me harder than anyone else ever did. And for that, I owe you one. I paused, trying to process his words. Owed me one? After everything that had happened? It didn't make sense. You owe me. I repeated, unsure of how to respond. Yeah, Laurent said. If you hadn't been so brutal with me back then, I wouldn't have had to fight so hard to prove myself. I would have stayed comfortable. I would have stayed small. But you made me step up, Gordon. You forced me to become better. I opened my mouth to argue, to remind him of all the damage I had done, but Laurent cut me off. It wasn't easy, he continued. It was hell. But that fire made me who I am today. And now look at me. Look at this place. He gestured around the room, to the Michelin stars, to the people in the restaurant, to the success he had built. You made me stronger, Gordon. I'll never forget that. And suddenly, it all made sense. It wasn't just about the food. It wasn't just about the humiliations and the public battles. No, this was about something far more important. It was about growth. About pain, yes, but also about redemption. About learning from the past, moving forward, and becoming better because of it. Maybe I was too harsh, I said slowly, looking him in the eye. Maybe I shouldn't have done what I did. But you're right. You didn't quit. You didn't crumble. You turned it all into something amazing. Laurent chuckled. Well, it wasn't easy. But we both know I've got the better risotto now. That made me laugh even harder. I clapped him on the shoulder, and for the first time, I realized just how much respect I had for this man standing before me. The anger, the resentment, all of it had evaporated. What was left was a deep, unspoken understanding. I didn't need to apologize anymore. I didn't need to prove anything. What mattered now was that we had come full circle. We had both learned from our past, and now we were standing together, sharing this moment of mutual respect. "Let's call it even," I said, nodding at him. He grinned, his eyes sparkling with a mix of mischief and sincerity. "Deal." As I walked out of Le Salle Etoile that night, I knew I wouldn't forget this moment. Not the Michelin stars, not the fancy dishes, not even the incredible food. What I would remember, what I would carry with me, was the unexpected twist of redemption and understanding. And maybe, just maybe, that was worth more than any meal could ever be. Thank you for listening to another exciting story from VIP Vault. If you have enjoyed listening to this story, check out our videos here.